Hi, I'm Sarit Greenberg from Wool and Fun. We are in the Massiel new generation, Massiel Shawl new generation C2C CAL. We are starting part 2. I want to notice you that this is not the full side of the shawl. This is just a mini example that I will show you how to crochet the squares. We are now in a part 2. We are going to make the Lace C2C. It's really a nice square that form a lace pattern. And another notice, I want to give you another notice that from here forward, each row we are going to begin with the increase square and going to end with the basic square, and all the new stitches will be between them. So be aware where is the beginning of the row and at the end of the row. This is the last square made. The last square the last square we are going to make is here in this 3 chain space, and here we are going to make the basic square. So let's start. You are now in row 12 and we are starting with the increase square. 1, 2, 3, finger mark, 4, 5, 6, DC in the 3rd chain and DC in the next 2 chain that remained empty. Okay, now we need to repeat the last square across. So the last square we are starting with a slip stitch in the next 3 chain space, so it's here, slip stitch. We are going to make 3 chain and DC in the same space, and instead to make 2 more DC we are going to replace them with 2 chain. And again the next last square, slip stitch in the next 3 chain space, 3 chain or chain 3, DC in the same space and 2 chain. Continue with the lace square, slip stitch, chain 3, DC, chain 2, and again slip stitch, 3 chain, DC in the same space and chain 2. Of course you have more squares and more chain space in your shawl. For this mini example we are at the last square, so I'm going to make the basic square. Slip stitch, 3 chain and 3 DC. Just a minute. Okay, turn and this is the first last square row, and now the second last square row. I'm starting with the increase square, 2, 3, finger, 4, 5, 6, DC and 2 more DC. Okay, this is the increase square, And now I'm going to repeat the last square across, and the same, I make the slip stitch into the chain 3 space that made in the previous rows. This is the basic square, so it's like usual, slip stitch, 3 chain, DC and chain 2, and the next last squares we are going to make them in the chain 3 space of the next square. It looks different, but it's the same. Slip stitch, the chain 3 spaces here between the chain 3 and the DC. It's up in the corner of the square. So slip stitch, chain 3, DC, chain 2, and again slip stitch into the next 3 space. Just a minute, I have a mess with the yarn. Okay, so slip stitch, chain 3, DC, chain 2, another last square was made, slip stitch, chain 3, DC, chain 2, slip stitch, chain 3, DC, chain 2, and now I'm in the last square, and in the last square we need to do the basic square. So slip stitch into the next 3 chain space, chain 3 and 3 DC in the same space. Turn the work, and nice lace pattern now create. I'm going to do with you another row, and then it's up to you. Starting with the increase square, and then the first last square is we are going to make into the basic square that made in the last row. So slip stitch into the chain 3 space, and I'm making the last square. So chain 3, DC, chain 2, and again slip stitch, chain 3, DC, chain 2, we need to repeat the last square until the last square. And in the last square, in the last chain 3 space, I'm making the basic square. Turn. And that's it. This is how we do the last square. So have fun with this part, and I'm going to meet you next part. Bye.